The program, the genius. In 1932, the movie Scarface was filmed, telling the story of the Chicago gangster Al Capone. When permission was requested to screen the movie, U.S. censorship intervened in every scene to ensure the criminal was portrayed in an evil and unsympathetic light. The censorship board even insisted that the protagonist should die in a humiliating manner. Additionally, they added the phrase "shame of the nation" to the title to ensure the film was seen as a condemnation of Capone, portraying him as a disgrace to the nation and the American dream. Despite the producers agreeing to the censorship conditions, the movie was banned in most cities when it was released. The concern wasn't just about the movie itself but about the real-life figure it was based on. In reality, Al Capone was a criminal, but he was the opposite of the depiction in the film. While the protagonist was shown as a despised nobody, Capone was a beloved star, even appearing on the cover of Time magazine in 1930. Unlike the protagonist in the movie who was killed by the police, Capone survived throughout his life, evading death both from the police and rival gangs. While the movie titled him "Shame of the Nation," Capone was ironically seen as a model of the American success story. Let's move away from movies and American media and dive into the real story. Our story begins with Gabriele and Teresa Capone, who immigrated to New York in 1894 from southern Italy. They arrived with only $17, barely enough to survive 10 days. Like many immigrants of the time, they were hopeful about the American dream, the new land that promised jobs and stability. In his book Mafia, Beno Orlik writes that Italian immigrants of the time were of two types. 1. Workers and farmers escaping drought and poverty in Italy to seek legitimate jobs in America. 2. Criminals fleeing Italian police, representing the underworld. Both groups shared a common goal: achieving the American dream of a better, wealthier life, but their methods differed. One followed the law, and the other rebelled against it, creating two conflicting narratives that would continue to battle over who would truly achieve the American dream: the law-abiding immigrant or the criminal. It's often said that a doctor raises a doctor, and an engineer raises an engineer, so it's not surprising that a criminal might raise a criminal. But Gabriele Capone was a hard-working and honest man, running a barbershop, while his wife, Teresa, worked as a seamstress. They lived in Brooklyn amidst Italian gangs, who, upon arriving in America, began engaging in criminal activities, perpetuating the stereotype of Italians as irredeemable criminals. Under these conditions, Alphonse Capone was born in 1899. According to Deirdre Bair in her book Capone: Life, Legacy, and Legend, from his birth, Al insisted he was American, not Italian, and resented being labeled as Italian, a complex that stayed with him for life. Capone excelled academically, giving his father hope that he would follow in his footsteps and become a respectable man. However, his violent tendencies led to his expulsion from school at the age of 14 after he struck a teacher. He realized then that authority, represented by the teacher and the school, was against him and that he couldn't fight back. This realization led him to leave school permanently. At that time, a gangster named Johnny Torrio, who had emigrated from the same Italian village as Gabriele Capone, noticed Al's potential. Torrio, unlike the respectable barber Gabriele, was a criminal from the underworld. While Gabriele tried to raise his son to be educated and upright, Torrio tempted Al with the promise of a place in the world of crime. Torrio convinced Capone that his violent behavior, which got him expelled, could be an asset in Torrio's school of crime. At 17, Capone joined Torrio's gang, the James Street Boys, while working as a bartender at one of Torrio's clubs. One night, while working at the bar, Capone flirted with a woman named Lena Galluccia, only to discover that she was the sister of Frank Galluccia, a well-known man in the area. Frank attacked Capone with a knife, leaving a massive scar on his face, earning him the nickname, Scarface. Capone would go on to feel deeply embarrassed about this scar, often covering it in photos and fabricating stories about how he got it, including claiming it was from fighting in World War I. By the age of 19, Capone met and married Meg Coughlin, who became pregnant with his only child, Albert. Despite societal norms at the time, which stigmatized unwed mothers, Capone married May, showing a rare sense of responsibility. At 21, after his father's death, Capone found himself financially responsible for his mother, wife, child, and siblings. Unable to support them on a bookkeeper's salary, Capone fully embraced the criminal life. His mentor, Torrio, invited him to join his operations in Chicago, which led to Capone quickly rising from a gang member to Torrio's deputy within 2 years. Capone's blend of intelligence, charm, and brutality made him a unique figure, able to navigate both the business and criminal worlds. However, Capone lacked a compelling story to mask his criminal activities and present himself as a legitimate businessman. This opportunity came in 1920 with the Prohibition era, which banned the manufacture, sale, and transportation of alcohol. While other gangsters operated in secret, Capone built a large network of speakeasies, complete with entertainment like jazz bands, turning these illegal establishments into luxurious venues. Despite his illegal activities, Capone presented himself as a businessman providing a service millions of Americans desired. Particularly after the hardships of World War I, his reputation as a provider of happiness and luxury elevated his public image. By the mid-1920s, Capone had established himself as a powerful figure in Chicago's criminal underworld. His operations were vast, including alcohol smuggling, gambling, and prostitution, generating millions annually. Capone's influence extended beyond gangs. He was rumored to have paid off police officers, city officials, and even the mayor of Chicago, William "Big Bill" Thompson. Capone's wealth and charisma made him a celebrity. He dressed in expensive suits, wore silk socks, and drove luxury cars, presenting himself as a legitimate businessman. His style, including his iconic white fedora, became a symbol for gangsters of the era. However, Capone's empire faced constant challenges from rival gangs, particularly the North Side Gang, which opposed his activities, including his involvement in prostitution. The rivalry culminated in several violent confrontations, including an attempted assassination of Capone's mentor, Torrio. Surviving the attack, Torrio retired, leaving Capone in charge. At just 26 years old, Capone became the leader of Chicago's most powerful gang. Capone's public image continued to grow. Tabloid newspapers frequently featured him, portraying him as both a feared gangster and a man of the people. He maintained this dual image, supporting soup kitchens and making generous donations during the Great Depression while simultaneously engaging in ruthless criminal activities. The turning point in Capone's career came on February 14, 1929, with the infamous St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Disguised as police officers, Capone's men executed 7 members of the rival North Side Gang. The massacre shocked the nation, exposing the brutality of organized crime and turning public opinion against Capone. Though Capone denied involvement, his reputation as a benevolent figure was irreparably damaged. He was labeled "Public Enemy No. 1", and calls for his arrest intensified. Recognizing the growing pressure, Capone attempted to reinvent himself once again. He publicly surrendered to authorities in Philadelphia for carrying a concealed weapon, serving a brief prison sentence. This move was a calculated effort to distance himself from the massacre and allow public outrage to subside. Upon his release, Capone returned to Chicago, but the economic collapse of the Great Depression further complicated his efforts to maintain power. While he continued to donate to charities and fund soup kitchens, his criminal empire began to crumble under government scrutiny. The federal government, led by President Herbert Hoover, launched a concerted effort to bring Capone to justice. A special team of federal agents, known as the Untouchables, and led by Eliot Ness, was tasked with dismantling Capone's operations. Despite their efforts, prosecuting Capone for violent crimes proved difficult. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source: the IRS. Federal prosecutors built a case against Capone for tax evasion, arguing that his lavish lifestyle was inconsistent with his reported income. In 1931, Capone was convicted and sentenced to 11 years in federal prison, marking the end of his reign. Capone's imprisonment revealed the decline of his mental and physical health. Suffering from untreated syphilis, his condition worsened, leading to neurological deterioration. Released on parole in 1939, Capone spent his final years in Florida, cared for by his family. He died in 1947, with his mental state reduced to that of a child. In his obituary, the New York Times described his death as the end of an evil dream. Capone's legacy remains a symbol of the darker side of the American dream. A man who rose from poverty to power but whose empire ultimately collapsed under the weight of its own corruption. His story raises enduring questions about morality, choice, and the American dream. While Capone is remembered as one of history's most notorious criminals, his life also reflects the complex interplay between opportunity, ambition, and ethics. And so, the tale of Al Capone serves as both a cautionary tale and a reminder of the power of storytelling. As history has shown, the side with the better narrative often prevails, and in Capone's case, his story has left an indelible mark on popular culture and the history of organized crime. Al Capone's influence on organized crime and American culture persisted long after his death. His methods, including the use of bribery, public relations, and media manipulation, became a blueprint for future criminal empires. Capone's story was immortalized in films like Scarface, which captured both his brutality and his charisma, reinforcing his status as an enduring figure in the mythology of the American gangster. Writers like Vince Gilligan, creator of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, have credited Capone as an inspiration for their portrayal of morally complex characters navigating the fine line between crime and respectability. Gilligan even noted that a scene involving machine guns in Breaking Bad was a direct nod to the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Capone's story highlights the duality of the American dream, the tension between the ideal of the hard-working immigrant and the allure of shortcuts through crime. This dichotomy remains a central theme in American storytelling, reflecting the nation's fascination with outlaws who challenge the system, even as they embody its darker impulses. Ultimately, Capone's legacy is a testament to the power of narrative. His rise and fall illustrate how the stories we tell about ourselves, whether as heroes, villains, or something in between, shape our identity and our place in history. While Capone's life was marked by violence and corruption, it also serves as a reminder of the choices and consequences that define the human experience. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and watch the previous videos. Bye.